The DNA test. The truth. No one could bear. In the opulent living room of the Montgomery estate, the silence was so thick you could almost touch it. It wasn't the respectful silence of a wake, but the suffocating quiet that precedes a storm. The patriarch, Arthur Montgomery, a pharmaceutical industry magnate, had passed away just 3 months prior, and the reading of his will had already sown discord among his children. But the true cataclysm didn't come from material possessions, but from a small manila envelope delivered by a discreet messenger containing the results of a posthumous DNA test. No one in the room, not the matriarch, Eleanor, nor the children, Thomas and Catherine, was prepared for what that piece of paper would reveal. They thought they knew the truth about their lineage, about their past, about who they were. But the truth, like a silent tsunami, was about to sweep away everything they believed, shattering not just the fortune, but the very essence of the Montgomery family. Get ready, because this is the story of how a DNA test unearthed a family secret and destroyed everything they knew. No one survived this truth. To understand the depth of the abyss that opened up under the Montgomerys, it is crucial to delve into their seemingly impeccable past. Arthur Montgomery, the architect of the pharmaceutical empire, was a man of relentless ambition and well-kept secrets. His wife, Eleanor, a born socialite, was the personification of perfection and discretion, the guardian of the family's untouchable image. Together, they built a facade of success and happiness, but behind the closed doors of the mansion, there were cracks that no one dared to expose. Their children, Thomas and Catherine, grew up under the weight of expectations. Thomas, the eldest, was the natural heir, molded to take over the family business. He was methodical, ambitious, and above all, loyal to his father's image. Catherine, the youngest, was the more sensitive soul, an artist who sought authenticity and often felt suffocated by the rigidity of the family environment. She held a special affection for her father, Arthur, who, despite his apparent coldness, always encouraged her artistic passions. The Montgomery family history was one of meteoric rise, but also of an obsession with control and reputation. Arthur, in his youth, had been a brilliant young man, but with a mysterious past he rarely spoke of. There were whispers of a life before Eleanor, a life he had completely erased. Eleanor, for her part, came from a traditional family, but with a history of hushed-up scandals, which made her even more zealous in protecting the Montgomery image. The past event that caused the rupture, though unknown to the children, was Arthur and Eleanor's decision to seal a pact of silence about a traumatic event from Arthur's past. A secret that, if revealed, could have destroyed his social ascent and his budding empire. This secret, buried under layers of lies and omissions, was the unstable foundation upon which the Montgomery family had been built. The emotional tension was already set, a time bomb waiting for the right moment to explode. 3 months after Arthur's death, the Montgomery family was in a state of grief and discord. The reading of the will had been a battlefield, with Thomas and Catherine vying for the largest share of the inheritance. Thomas, convinced he was the only one capable of managing the empire, saw Catherine as a threat to his authority. Catherine, in turn, felt her father had been unfair in his distribution of assets, favoring Thomas over her passion for art. Eleanor, the matriarch, tried to keep the peace, but her own pain and the secrets she kept made her a distant and enigmatic figure. She watched her children fight, feeling the weight of a truth she knew would one day come to light. The mansion, once a home of luxury and comfort, now felt like a mausoleum, echoing the family's unresolved conflicts. The central conflict began to develop with the arrival of the DNA test envelope. Arthur, in a final act of redemption or perhaps cruelty, had secretly requested the test shortly before his death. The family lawyer, Mr. Davies, who had been Arthur's confidant for decades, delivered the envelope with an expression of deep apprehension. He knew what was inside and the impact it would have. At that moment, an unexpected ally emerged for Catherine. Dr. Elias Vance, a renowned geneticist and truth activist, who had worked with Arthur on a philanthropic research project. Vance, a man of science and unshakable ethics, had been responsible for conducting the DNA test at Arthur's request. He was present at the mansion to deliver the results personally, feeling the weight of the responsibility of revealing a truth that could destroy a family. Vance approached Catherine, sensing she was the only one in the family with a mind open enough to accept the truth. He shared his suspicions about the origin of the test and Arthur's reluctance to discuss certain aspects of his past. Catherine, initially skeptical and distrustful, was convinced by Vance's seriousness and the possibility of finally understanding her father's complexities. Together, they began to follow the clues, unraveling layers of lies and setting the stage for the climax that would shake the foundations of the Montgomery family. The clues were subtle but revealing. Vance had noticed an anomaly in Arthur's DNA test results, something that didn't fit with the known genetic profile of the Montgomery family. Catherine, in turn, remembered fragmented conversations with her grandmother, who mentioned a distant cousin who had mysteriously disappeared from Arthur's life before his marriage to Eleanor. The tension mounted with each new discovery, and the public's curiosity would be piqued by the promise of a hidden truth about to come to light. With the first clues in hand, Catherine and Dr. Vance devised a meticulous plan to uncover Arthur Montgomery's secret and expose it to the family. The goal was not only to reveal the truth, but also to understand the impact it would have on the Montgomery legacy and the lives of Thomas, Eleanor, and Catherine. The plan was risky, as Eleanor was a powerful adversary, capable of using her influence and resources to silence anyone who threatened the family's reputation. The first step was to gain access to Arthur's medical and personal records, which were sealed in the family office. Catherine, who knew the mansion like the back of her hand, planned a nighttime infiltration. She knew Eleanor had a strict security system, but she also knew the flaws and blind spots that her father, Arthur, had intentionally left, perhaps as a final test or a last joke. Vance, with his experience in data analysis and his ability to decipher complex information, would be the brains behind the operation, guiding Catherine on what to look for. While Catherine prepared for the infiltration, Vance began to investigate the life of the distant cousin mentioned by the grandmother. He scoured hospital archives, birth and marriage records, and obituaries, searching for any connection to Arthur Montgomery. He knew that to unravel the secret, they would need irrefutable proof, something Eleanor could not deny or manipulate. The obstacles were many. Eleanor, sensing Catherine's growing curiosity and Vance's presence, increased security at the mansion and began monitoring her daughter's activities. She suspected Catherine was up to something but couldn't pinpoint what. The tension grew with each passing day, and the anticipation for the final confrontation was palpable. The audience would be kept on the edge of their seats, anticipating the inevitable collision between truth and lies. Catherine, in disguise and using her intimate knowledge of the mansion, managed to get into Arthur's office. The air was thick with the smell of old books and kept secrets. She found a box of documents hidden behind a false bookshelf. Opening it, she found not only medical records but also a diary, letters, and a birth certificate, all belonging to a woman named Clara Dubois. Clara's diary revealed a story of forbidden love between her and Arthur, a secret son, and a painful sacrifice. The birth certificate confirmed the existence of a son, born before Arthur's marriage to Eleanor. The moment of truth arrived during Eleanor's birthday dinner, a gala event that brought together the elite of society. Thomas was delivering a speech about the impeccable Montgomery lineage and the importance of family, while Catherine and Vance prepared for their move. Catherine, with Clara's diary and the birth certificate in hand, took the stage, interrupting Thomas's speech. The hall, once filled with murmurs and laughter, fell into a sepulchral silence. Catherine, her voice firm, began to read excerpts from Clara's diary and the birth certificate, revealing Arthur's secret romance with Clara, the pregnancy, and the birth of a son, Daniel. She exposed how Arthur, under pressure from his family and to protect his reputation and fortune, forced Clara to give the baby up for adoption and disappear from his life. With every word, Eleanor's face grew paler, and shock spread through the audience. Thomas, who had built his life on a foundation of lies, collapsed into his chair, his facade of superiority finally crumbling. Eleanor tried to interrupt, accusing Catherine of slander and of trying to destroy her father's legacy. But Catherine had irrefutable proof, the result of Arthur's posthumous DNA test, which confirmed Daniel's paternity. She projected the image of the result onto the large screen, so everyone could see the truth. The murmur in the room turned into a buzz of shock and outrage. The perfect image of the Montgomery family was in pieces. Dr. Vance then took the stage, presenting documents that proved Daniel's adoption and his current identity. He revealed that Daniel was a renowned doctor, a man of integrity, who had grown up without knowing his true origin. The truth, which Arthur Montgomery had tried to bury for decades, was now exposed for the whole world to see. The emotional reactions were intense. Eleanor, furious and humiliated, tried to assault Vance but was restrained by security. Thomas wept silently, his life of lies unraveled. Catherine, though saddened by the pain she was causing, felt a strange sense of liberation. The power dynamic in the Montgomery family had changed forever. At the height of the chaos, as Eleanor was being led off the stage and the audience was in an uproar, a calm, authoritative voice echoed through the hall. It was Daniel. He had been invited by Catherine, but his presence was a closely guarded secret. Daniel, with a serenity that contrasted with the storm around him, asked to speak. "I am Daniel Montgomery," he began, his voice clear and resonant, "the son of Arthur Montgomery and Clara Dubois, and I am not here to claim a fortune, but to claim the truth." Daniel revealed that over the years he had received anonymous letters and small sums of money, always accompanied by excerpts from medical books that Arthur had read. He never knew the source but felt a strange connection to this mysterious benefactor. He revealed that a few years ago he had received a final letter, accompanied by a key and an address. The letter said, "When the truth is revealed, this key will open the door to your past." The address was for a small medical office in a distant town, a place Arthur had kept secret for decades. Daniel, Catherine, and Dr. Vance went to the office. There, they found a safe hidden behind a false wall. Daniel's key opened the safe, revealing not money or jewels, but a final diary from Arthur Montgomery. This diary was different from the others. It was a diary of confessions, written in the last months of his life, where Arthur expressed his deep regret for abandoning Clara and Daniel. He revealed that he had been blackmailed by a business rival, an unscrupulous man who threatened to expose the secret of Clara and Daniel, which would have destroyed his reputation and his empire in its early years. Arthur had made a terrible choice, but he had tried, in his own way, to protect Daniel and Clara, sending them aid and monitoring their lives. But the biggest twist came on the last page of the diary. Arthur had left a secret clause in his will, a clause that would only be activated if Daniel's secret was publicly revealed. This clause transferred 50% of the Montgomery fortune to Daniel, not as an inheritance, but as a form of reparation for the years of silence and suffering. Furthermore, Arthur had left a letter for Eleanor, revealing that she knew about Clara and Daniel's secret, and that she had been complicit in keeping it hidden, for fear of losing her status and her position in society. The result of the confrontation was devastating for Eleanor and Thomas. The Montgomery family's reputation was in ruins. Thomas, who had built his life on a foundation of lies, saw his empire crumble. The company's stock plummeted, investors withdrew their support, and he was forced to resign as CEO. Eleanor, humiliated and exposed, became a social pariah, abandoned by her friends and the society she so cherished. Daniel, for his part, did not seek revenge. He used his new fortune to create a foundation in his mother's name, Clara Dubois, dedicated to supporting single mothers and children in orphanages. He became an advocate for truth and justice, using his story to inspire others. Catherine, who had fought for the truth, found a new purpose in her life, working alongside Daniel at the foundation and using her art to give a voice to the oppressed. The outcome was bittersweet, but it brought a form of justice and redemption for those who had been silenced for so long. The story of the Montgomery family became a cautionary tale, a reminder that secrets, no matter how well kept, always find a way to come to light. The DNA test, which seemed so innocent, was the catalyst that exposed a web of lies and revealed the true nature of ambition and sacrifice. The Montgomery family, which seemed unshakable in its wealth and power, was destroyed by the truth, but paradoxically, found a new form of unity through redemption. Eleanor and Thomas, though they lost their fortune and their reputation, were forced to confront their own failings and seek a form of redemption. Thomas, in an act of humility, sought out Daniel and Catherine, asking for forgiveness and offering his help at the foundation. Eleanor, in her final years, dedicated herself to volunteering, seeking to atone for her past sins. Justice, though delayed, prevailed, and Arthur Montgomery's legacy was rewritten, not by fortune, but by truth and compassion. Daniel and Catherine, the siblings who never knew they existed, built a new legacy for the Montgomery family, a legacy based on honesty, empathy, and service to others. The Montgomery Mansion, which was once a symbol of coldness and secrets, was transformed into a shelter for families in need, a place where truth and compassion could flourish. Their story is a testament to the power of truth, the resilience of the human spirit, and the ability to find redemption even in the darkest of circumstances. If you have ever encountered a family secret that changed your life, or if you believe that the truth always prevails, share your experience in the comments. We believe every story has the power to inspire and transform. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories that will surprise you and make you reflect on the true meaning of family, legacy, and the unshakable power of the truth.